Hi, I'm Gary White,
And I'm Yvonne McNary.
here on Channel 6, Central Kentucky Talks. And we're going to be talking today about something that's important to everybody, and that's the environment in our world.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. And we have a lady on the phone with us, Ellen Moyer, who is the author of Our Earth, Our Species, Ourselves, How to Thrive While Creating a Sustainable World. Thank you for joining us, Ellen.
Great to be here, Gary and Yvonne. Thank you so much.
Yeah. As I said earlier, this is a pretty big topic here, so you're going to cover a lot of information today.
Yeah, and today is actually my big book launch day, so I'm
Congratulations.
announcing it widely today, and so this is very exciting and great timing to be talking with you.
Fantastic. Now tell us a little bit, in a nutshell, what is your book about? What can people expect when they read your book?
Well, the book is about how we absolutely can create a sustainable and healthier and happier world for ourselves. We're kind of down in the dumps often and think that, there's not much we can do, but we absolutely can do this. And it's not very often you hear a positive message like that. And so the book talks about how we got to where we are, and talks about individual things we can do just on our own, but also collective things we can do. Our situation is very urgent, so we have to work on all levels right away. But if we do, we're going to be very happy. So that's the basic message.
Okay. Now, Ellen, I know our Earth is pretty old. I mean, we're thousands of years, millions of years old. So
Billions.
our Earth has lost some of its minerals and all that we need in our foods. Where are we now, and what can you tell us about that?
Well, we haven't really lost minerals. They've just moved around. So we have depleted our soils, our agricultural soils, if that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
And but that's reversible, so we can restore our soils. So there's techniques that are called regenerative agriculture that can take degraded soils and make them fertile again. So there are amazing things people are doing, like in Africa where there's this desert is spreading. There's a guy who stops the spread of the desert by changing the shape of the top of the land and recharging water into the land instead of letting it run off, and planting new plants and creating fertile soil and lush vegetation where there was once desert. So once we stop doing the damage, nature does tend to self-heal, just like our bodies tend to self-heal. So it's good news because we can take some actions, and then nature will work to make things better. So that is a wonderful thing.
Yes. Now, I know right now we're in a situation where there's a lot of people who have varying points of view on climate change and how that has affected people. What's your point of view on climate change? Is it real? Is it something that's we need to do something about?
Totally real. We definitely have to do something about it. People are suffering now, and as well as other plants and animals. And there's been a deliberate campaign to confuse people and deny that it's happening. But hopefully people will rise to that and go with the science. And there's no doubt. So it's good to get beyond that, just like we got beyond debates over whether the Earth is flat or round. At some point it's settled science, and then you move on from there. So that's my take on it.
There was last year, actually, I believe it was, that they came to the results in Paris with the group there that can help hopefully prevent the Earth from raising over up to 2 degrees. Is that correct? Am I?
Well, there are different targets, but that's one big one. Yeah.
And is that possible for us to do that? And what would be the results if that is not accomplished?
Oh, well, it's definitely doable. And if we don't do that, we're going to have more droughts, more floods, more coastal, more sea level rise, more severe weather, just more of what we're already starting to see, more starvation, dislocated populations, water supplies depleted. It would be really, really bad.
And what's the time frame for accomplishing that before the dire results?
Well, it's the kind of thing where the sooner we turn things around, the better things are. It's like, if someone is a smoker, the answer is, well, the sooner you stop smoking, the better off you're going to be. So there's no concrete prescription. It's
right.
Just get her done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
I see what you're saying. So tell us about your book. It tells you how to thrive and be sustainable. What are some of the tips that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest areas, maybe we should focus on things people can do individually, because people could just start doing them even today. It turns out that our everyday actions add up to big impacts. If we repeat something over and over and over, it's a big deal. And one area where we make a huge impact is in the food we choose to buy and eat. Because we all do that. We all eat several times a day, every day, day after day. Our decisions are significant. So if we can do a few things in that area, we can really help the world. For example, if we choose to eat organically grown food, we're not only helping our own health, because we're not consuming pesticides and other toxic chemicals, but we're also improving the environment, because we're not putting pesticides into the environment and soluble fertilizers that get into water bodies and create problems. And we're also helping the climate, because organic methods generate less greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, than conventionally grown food. So there's an area where we can make a difference. Another area is in the amount of meat that we eat. There are a lot more inputs go into beef, especially, but even pork, chicken, veal. It uses a lot of water, a lot of land. It generates a lot of greenhouse gases. If we can cut back a little bit on the amount of meat we eat, that can contribute greatly to many aspects of the environment. If we can avoid eating food additives, we not only help ourselves, but we reduce contamination of the environment. An area that is really huge that a lot of people don't know about is food waste. If we can waste less food, it cuts down on environmental contamination and the use of land for growing food and greenhouse gas emissions. And this problem is really gigantic. It's shocking to consider that Americans throw out 40% of all the food we produce. Totally incredible. And most of that food ends up in landfills. Only 3% of the food is composted. And when you translate that into the finances of a typical American family, the average family throws out a quarter of all the food and beverages they buy, and that's costing them $150 a month. So in the various examples I've just presented, the interesting thing I would love people to realize is that when we help the environment, we help ourselves, both our health and our finances and our economy. So that's a wonderful thing because it shows how everything in our world is interconnected, so that if we improve one area, such as our food consumption, say, it automatically improves other areas, such as the environment and the economy. So that's one reason I say that we can create a much better and happier and sustainable world for ourselves more easily than we might think, because of these interconnections that kind of pull other areas along as we fix one area. So a lot of people are daunted by our problems. It's like, oh my God, look at all these problems. I don't know where to start. There's so many of them. I'm overwhelmed. Well, if we just work on a few key ones, it's going to bring some of the other ones along automatically, so we don't have to consciously tackle each and every single problem. So that is a huge help to us.
So if we do our part and work along that way, then hopefully it can help the whole cycle of things.
Yeah, even and the impacts are fairly far-reaching. If we eat organic food, for example, the farm workers are exposed to less pesticides, and their lives are going to be longer and healthier. So, you know, what you buy at the supermarket today affects someone on the other side of the country who's, you know, picking crops that are either clean or contaminated, and it's affecting their lives. So it's
So
pretty
that
amazing.
food that's grown in our earth helps our species and ourselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, it all goes together, and the converse is also true. You know, if we degrade a certain area of our life, it's going to degrade other areas of our life. So our lives, you know, we're used to looking at things as separate, divided things. It's like from Newtonian physics, where you look at each thing as a separate object, and it's you know, just does its own thing. But we're coming to grips more with quantum physics that say everything is connected, and we're just seeing that more and more in our lives as we look at impacts of things. So it's kind of a myth, you know. There's a false idea out there that says you can either have economic growth or you can protect the environment, but you can't have both. But actually, it's the other way around. You need to have a healthy environment to have a healthy economy. The guy who started Earth Day back in 1970, he was Senator Gaylord Nelson. He said the economy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment. And that really is so true. And you can see it just in current events. You know, if we have Hurricane Sandy, for example, where the storm surges created a lot of chaos and damage, and, you know, cost billions and billions of dollars. Well, 1 foot of that surge was sea level rise due to climate change. So there's a cost that goes with that, and that additional foot of high water caused a lot of damage that we can actually quantify. So we see this in what happens. So I'm hoping that people will really have a change of view here and realize that it's just a myth that the economy and the environment are at odds with each other, and that in fact they go together.
Okay.
Now, a lot of these things that you talked about are just good for you, just plain old good for us and for our families. Now, starting with our children, what are some things that we should be teaching them so that this won't be new to them, it won't be alien to them, and it'll be just something that they do on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, there's so many things. I mean, the main thing is to get kids outside and away from their screens, so they can appreciate nature. But a fantastic thing to do with kids is to teach them how to grow food. And kids love to do gardening. You get to get your hands dirty, and you're outside, you're having fun, you're getting exercise and learning about plants and animals, and having fun growing your own food, and you're learning to appreciate fruits and veggies, which everybody knows we need to eat more of. So I would put that at pretty close to the top of the list of great things to do with kids.
Well,
And,
we used to do that, having gardens, and everybody lived on a farm, and it seems like things changed once everybody started moving to the city.
Yeah, and now even in cities, people are making community gardens and getting kids involved. There's a huge garden in Brooklyn on top of a roof of a building, and a lot of kids get involved in gardening there, and that's just a fantastic development on so many levels, and exposes kids who otherwise would have a hard time getting out in nature, although it doesn't really take much. I mean, just going to a park or something like that is a really great thing to do. So
just taking some
getting
steps.
outside is just a wonderful thing to do, and especially growing food, I think, is incredible.
Well, we've been talking with Ellen Moyer, who is the author of Our Earth, Our Species, Our Cells, How to Thrive While Creating a Sustainable World. And we appreciate you talking with us today, Ellen.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
And we
Really
talked about,
appreciate
it was your book launch today, so how can people get a copy of this book?
Well, it's on Amazon, so if you just go to Amazon and put Our Earth in the search bar there, if you scroll down a few entries, you'll see it there. It's a bright orangish cover. And also at my website, there's info about the book and info on some of the topics we've been talking about, and that's the website is ellenmoyerphd.com. That's ELLENMOYERPHD.com. So either of those places would be a good place to find out more information.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ellen.
And hopefully
Thank you,
everybody
Mary and
can.
Yvonne. That was fantastic.
Yes, hopefully everybody can do their part in order to help our world, because it's the only world that we all have right now.
That's right.
So
Yeah, and help themselves at the same time. That's the bargain.
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.